Okay. Ama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namaste Saraswati Devi Gurvan Pachari Jai Shri Chaitanya Prabhu Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivastava Gaura Hare Krishna 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 Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Jai Shri Prabhupada ki Jai Srimad Bhagavad Gita Granth Raj ki. Okay, so we're on verse, I think, 50, 51, 52. But before we start that, I wanted to, this important point, that is, Prabhupada says that from the material point of view, Arjuna was right, that it's not good to fight with my own family members, my brothers, my cousins, my uncles, my guru, and grandsire of our family, and so forth. So he was right on the material point of view. When he was Gita, he decided to fight against his brothers and his grandsire. That means that after learning Bhagavad Gita, he became transcendental. Now, we should discuss whether that is good or bad. If that's justifiable. Because normally, to fight against your own family, so why is it not considered horrible? To kill your own guru is most horrible. But why is it not considered horrible? These are the hard questions. It's like, why did Rama banish Sita? People say, oh, I like the Ramayana except that one part. So, and then, why did the Yadus kill each other? If Krishna was their, leader, why would they kill each other? So, there are many questions here that come up, and they come up because one person is seeing from the material level, so therefore he thinks it's wrong that Rama should ban his wife, or that Arjuna should fight against his own family members. Someone seeing it from a transcendental level says he's doing the right thing. So let's discuss that. What do you think?
It's right. It's the transcendental level because it was led by Krishna. And first he explains the difference about the body and the soul and all the other chapters of the Bhagavad Gita. In last end says that in 1866 verse, so he's following Krishna's instruction and he's not going to get any sinful reaction. So it's said by God in scripture, which is the Bhagavad Gita. And sadhus, I don't know, all sadhus will agree to that, the Bhagavad Gita.
What's that?
All the sadhus, Guru, sadhu and Shastra says.
Yeah.
And sadhus should accept Bhagavad Gita as it is.
Anybody else want to say something about this?
So like if those were the people not part of Arjuna's family, then he would have been ready. It means like that, right? That Arjuna was not ready because they were his family members.
Bodily conception.
Can you repeat the
Question is the following. Prabhupada says that from the material point of view, Arjuna was right. You should not fight against your own family. So he says, but when he learned Bhagavad Gita, he fought against his family.
Also,
But the point is that after reading Bhagavad Gita, he became transcendental. A transcendental man. Now, the same question comes up. Why did Rama ban his wife, Sita? Why did Rama kill Bali when Bali wasn't his enemy? Why did the Yadus kill each other when they're in Krishna's family? And there's many questions like this in the Shastra. And it's because, these questions come up because there's a material point of view and a spiritual point of view. So, you see, you run into this problem all over the place. It's not just with Arjuna. The difference between a material point of view and a transcendental point of view. And from the material point of view, people will argue, I don't agree with you, Here, abolishing capital punishment.
they don't have.
They did before, they just passed the law.
So now they just put in prison instead of hanging or killing the
Yeah.
person.
But from the spiritual point of view, you should kill a person who's committed murder.
Yeah, the Bhagavad Gita says.
Bhagavad Gita. So again, we have from material point of view, a spiritual point of view. This comes up all the time. All the time. Abortion, from material point of view, it's a good thing now. It's legal. Spiritual point of view, it's condemned. Killing your own child.
No, but suppose child has some biological.
Still, it should be allowed to live. And
What if you had some biological thing?
natural death?
Would you like your mom to have killed you?
No, some of them have severe chromosomal disorders and things like that. At that time, should they go ahead and have the baby, or should they kind of terminate?
They should have the baby and let it die of its own cause.
Look, these things happen because there's karmic issues that we don't know about. Right? We only know about it when it happens. So, if someone is born with a congenital problem, they're born, without eyes, or they're born without a leg, or whatever, right? It's due to some karmic reaction. By killing the child, you're just going to force it to take birth again. You're not solving the problem. The child is not a body. The child is soul. So you're denying it its normal passage. So therefore, it's going to take birth again.
So how about the elder people who suicides?
There's another question here. From one point of view, the material point of view, it's a good thing to do that. Why should they suffer? From the spiritual point of view, it's a wrong thing to do. That's another one.
Even in the hospitals, they give killing, mercy killing, right? That's wrong, I think. They kill the patient.
Yeah,
just
because
telling
they're
them
going
that
through-
suffering, right?
Well, from the spiritual point of view, it's wrong.
Wrong.
So, let's discuss this because it's very interesting. You see, it's not just Arjuna. In many situations like this, that you're faced with today, not like, for example, a Christian family has a business. They make, cakes and different pastries, and two people come in, two men come in. They said they want to have a wedding cake to celebrate their wedding. So the Christian said, "Well, I won't make that for you. You can go to another shop. They'll do it for you." So they pressed charges. They went to court. The state of Washington fined that store $150,000 for refusing. So they took it to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court, they reversed the lower court. Yeah. But the state of Washington has a law that says that you can't deny a request like that if you have a business. But actually, it's a violation of federal law. A person has a right to deny someone a service. A doctor may not, but a business can. So, but see, the state of Washington has passed a law that you cannot deny service on the basis of their orientation. But federal court overturned it. So you see, there's just because there's a shift of culture, make it right from the spiritual point of view. It might be legally right, like abortion is legally okay now, but it might not be right from the spiritual point of view. So there's 2 points of view. There's the material point of view and the spiritual point of view, and they're not always, in agreement. And we see here, Prabhupada says Arjuna, from the material point of view, was right that he should not fight. But when he read Bhagavad Gita, he became a transcendental man, and then he fought against his own family.
So all the arguments he gave in the first chapter seem very right, but then Krishna answers them and then he understands us.
Well, okay, let's discuss Arjuna's case, and then based on that, we might be able to analyze these other cases. So in the case of Arjuna, there are 5 factors for every action. Most people only take in account 1, 2, 3, or 4, but never 5. Most people. What are the 5 factors? One is place of the action is the body. 2 is the senses, because the senses determine how you perceive. Right? 3 is the endeavor itself. 4 is senses. Okay, number 5 is Krishna. What is number 4? Huh?
No, 18th chapter.
Yeah.
18th.
Shit.
The place of action, the body, the performer, the way
Oh, the performer, soul. Yeah. Yeah. Number 4 is the performer. 3, the performer. 4 is the endeavor. And 5 is Krishna. So these are 5 factors. Most people only take 1, 2, 3, or 4. Up to the first 4, they never take number 5 into account. So that was Arjuna's problem. He was not thinking what would please Krishna. He was only thinking what would please himself. So his decision was based on sense gratification. It wasn't based on a transcendental desire to please Krishna. Okay, so that's one point. There's another point. That is that he thought that the temporary bodily relationship with his family was more important than the eternal spiritual relationship with Krishna. And this is a major reason why many people will not follow Krishna consciousness. They think that their family allegiance is more important than being connected to Krishna. And also, he thought that religious principles were more important. Let's see. So, 2nd chapter, 11th verse. he argued that religious principles should be given more importance than politics or sociology, but he did not know that knowledge of matter, soul, and the supreme is even more important than religious formularies.
2:11.
Second chapter, 11th verse, in the purport. Arjuna argued that religious principles should be given more importance than politics or sociology. But he did not know, or he did not understand, that knowledge of matter, the soul, and the supreme is even more important than religious formularies. And because he was lacking in that knowledge, he should not have posed himself as a very learned man. As he did not happen to be a very learned man, he was consequently lamenting for something which was unworthy of lamentation. The body is born and is destined to be vanquished today or tomorrow. Therefore, the body is not as important as the soul. One who knows this is actually learned, and for him there is no cause for lamentation, regardless of the condition of the material body. So Arjuna became affected by his family relationships, and he began to give reasons based on what you would call moral, ethical, and religious reasons why he should not fight. But he was not thinking on the level of the soul, he was just thinking on the level of the body. So, like, for example, someone would say, like a Christian would say, we don't agree with what you're doing, this going out in the streets and chanting like that. Because in the Bible it says that one should stay in a closet and pray in seclusion to God. Therefore, we don't agree with your Sankirtan. It's not the right thing. It doesn't please God. Well, the Hindus used to say this too. When they wanted to stop the Sankirtan of Lord Chaitanya, they went to Chandkazi and they said, look, this is the period when Lord Vishnu, Mahavishnu is sleeping. So by going out with banging on cartels and playing mridungas and chanting loudly, you'll wake up the Lord. So according to Hinduism, it's not the proper thing to do. This is the reason they gave 500 years ago, Chandkazi, why he should stop Lord Chaitanya from doing Sankirtan. Well, Mahavishnu, yeah, of course he's sleeping. He's in a state of yoga nidra. And he exhales, and then during that period, creation takes place. And when he inhales, everything is absorbed again. But you're not going to wake him up by playing cartels in Navadvip. Mahavishnu is, in the way above being woken by cartels being banged and chanting Hare Krishna loudly. Nonsense. The whole reasoning was nonsense. But it was a religious reason they gave. Like, this is a period where the Lord is sleeping and you wake him up by doing loud chanting.
Like in early morning, those things. Some people
I don't know.
No, early morning they do actually.
Who?
They go on the streets, especially in this month.
Yeah.
They go early in the morning.
Who's
singing.
they?
I mean, people in India, there's a community, they will go in the morning, they chant all Vishnu prayers and they will go in the morning around 4 o'clock during this October, November, December, that
Okay.
Kartik month and this.
Okay.
Even the Gurudwara people, they do the morning feda, they walk in the morning and just make procession. I don't think they sing and dance.
Okay.
क्या बोलते हैं उसको? Morning में जाते हैं.
So we're discussing the material point of view as compared to the transcendental spiritual point of view. Right? Because this comes up in many different situations, even today. So Arjuna, for different reasons, he was refusing to fight. But not one of those reasons was taking Krishna into account. Here, you can sit here. Yeah. Okay. He didn't take Krishna into account. So now, when you want to make a decision in your life, you have to consider the place, the senses, including the mind, the endeavor, the soul and its relationship to Krishna. Right? Then you can make an enlightened decision. If you only consider the first, second, third, and fourth reason and avoid Krishna, then you'll probably make a mistake. And you can see how the mistake is a spiritual mistake, but materially it may seem to be correct. They seem to be correct. So, this is where life becomes, decision-making in life becomes difficult. So therefore, we have to be aware of the 5 factors of every action, so that whatever decision we make is enlightened. Because here Arjuna was a very intelligent person. He made the wrong decision because he was thinking only on the material level. Just like on the material level, abortion today is legal. But on the spiritual level, it's condemned. So on which level are you going to decide? It's like one lady came to me and she said, I have to make a confession to you. I said, okay. I said, you're not forced to. I'm not asking you to, you know. No, she said, I want to tell you. I said, okay, what is it? She said, my husband forced me to have an abortion, and I know it's wrong. But I still did it. And I feel very bad. I said, okay, of course, you know, that's a private thing, I'm not going to tell anyone. But see, these things happen, right, in life. From a material point of view, it may have seemed right to do it. But from a spiritual point of view, it's wrong. Right? So on which level are we going to make a decision? That we have to decide. No one can force you to do one way or the other. And in the case of Bhagavad Gita, we should always make a decision on a spiritual level. That's why Krishna is explaining all this stuff. Otherwise, why would he go to the trouble to explain this? See, the example of Arjuna is extremely important because we see that he's faced with the same type of decisions we have to make in life. Whether we should make a decision from the material point of view or from the spiritual point of view. And it's not an easy thing to do. But if you start making decisions on the material point of view, you will violate principles of Krishna consciousness. That's, you know, almost for sure. So now why would a person like, okay, let's say, why do people get abortions? Well, it's usually for economic reasons and for enhanced sense gratification. They'll say, oh no, we already have enough kids, another kid would be just too much, you know, can't handle it. So let's abort the child. So that's an economic reason. Or, oh no, if we have another child, we have to go through so much trouble to raise a child. Let's just abort. So, therefore, there's a material reason as opposed to a spiritual reason. And they're completely different. So that's just one case. But see, here was Arjuna. He was thinking on the material level. And on the material level, Prabhupada said he was right. It's not right to fight against your own family. But after he read Bhagavad Gita, he fought against his family. You know, he had a big extended family, so the family was on both sides of the battlefield. So, did he do the right thing?
It says in the somewhere in the introduction that Dhritarashtra was supposed to be the king, but he was blind, so that it was passed to Pandu, but he died early. So again, it was given to Dhritarashtra as a caretaker.
Well, see, that's another point. That the kingdom actually belonged to the Pandavas, and it was usurped from them, you know. and it was wrong.
And then Duryodhana was not.
But they were willing to live with that if they would just have a little bit of
5 villages.
land for each brother. But Duryodhana refused that. That's when Krishna said, now we're going to fight. Yeah, because they tried everything to avoid the fight, but Duryodhana was, determined to not give anything to the Pandavas. So then, sometimes fighting is necessary. It's necessary.
Pujit, I have a question about that event where Duryodhana refused to give a small land.
Yeah.
So what if he had given the small land?
There would not have been a fight.
But then, was it still a dharma then? Was Arjuna still following a dharma? Like,
No, because the Pandavas are kings. They have a right to have something.
right, so basically, yeah, that's right. So they are king. They are supposed to take care of the
People.
in the kingdom in a right dharmic way.
So they were willing to be kings of just one village each.
But then they would have just taken care of the one village.
Yes.
What about the rest of the kingdom? It's still
Well,
they are
actually,
still doing it.
Duryodhana was a good manager.
He could have
He was
done-
actually a good man. He was actually doing a good job managing the kingdom.
because of his
The only
envy.
thing is where he was envious of the Pandavas. Because of that envy, he refused to make a compromise. At that point, Krishna said, now we have to fight. Well, they did other things too. They tried to strip Draupadi. They tried to kill the Pandavas. They did a whole bunch of evil things. Right? So, therefore, they're forced to fight.
So land was not the only matter, right? But then it feels like, hearing that incident, it feels like land was actually the reason to trigger the fight.
No,
But actually seeing land was not the only
no,
reason.
there was adharma. The Duryodhana was being adharmic. He was doing evil things. And progressively evil things because, he was envious of the Pandavas. Therefore, he couldn't let them have anything. Pandavas had self-control. They were willing to give them something previously,
Really beautiful.
and they made it much better than Hastinapur. And Duryodhana was invited to their new city that they built, but it was a very clever building, and he fell into the moat, and then Draupadi laughed, and he heard that, and he got really angry, and he walked away, determined to kill them after that. And he realized it was a mistake giving them anything, because whatever they get, they make it wonderful, better than him. So he couldn't give them anything after that. That's what envy does, it makes you blind. And another time, what was it? One of the Yadus, Samba, right? He kidnapped.
Duryodhana stopped.
Yeah, and then the Kurus put him in prison or captured him. And what was it? Balaram went to make some arrangement so that that captivity would stop. They refused. What did Balaram do? He took his plow and was going to drag. He started dragging Hastinapur into the Yamuna, and then the Kauravas freaked out. And they went and they apologized to him. Then he arranged the wedding with Samba and that girl. So you see, when you begin to insult Krishna or Balaram, then they become. That means they're very adharmic. They're evil, and they should be punished. But yet, the Lord is easily, let's say, merciful if people become submissive. But in the case of Duryodhana, he refused to be submissive. Even Krishna went and personally asked him to just give one village each to the Pandavas, and he said no to Krishna.
He was trying to capture Krishna.
And he tried to, entice him. I said, let's have some dinner, let's not argue. Krishna refused to eat his food. So the question is the material point of view as opposed to the spiritual point of view. Because this question comes up in ordinary life, whether it's abortion, whether it's gender neutrality, whether it's euthanasia, killing older people, whether it's divorce, another one, yeah. Now, by the way, India just passed a law at the end of 2018.
Triple talaq.
What is that?
Triple talaq for Muslim women.
Three. Triple means three.
No. They passed a law saying that if a wife is unfaithful to her husband, it's no longer a crime.
Oh.
Did you know they passed that law?
Something came up.
Yeah.
That's not
Previously, it was always a crime if a wife or a husband also, is unfaithful to the wife, but especially if the wife is unfaithful to her husband, it was a crime. It could be punishable by law. They passed a law and canceled that, saying it's no longer punishable by
No,
law.
there will be more adultery.
Huh?
There will be more adultery now. People will not be afraid to.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, then they also passed a law about homosexuality. It's no longer a crime in India. Yeah. Right? So there's a cultural change taking place in India also. The land of Dharma. So again, we see what's happening. We see that now you have a material point of view as opposed to the spiritual point of view, and they're becoming opposite. Before, they incorporated the spiritual point of view into the law of the country. Now they're separated. So, therefore, just like in America, that one businessman, he refused to make a cake for the marriage of two men. And he took him to court, and he won in I think, the state of Colorado. And they took it to the Supreme Court, and they reversed that decision. Right? But you see, the states can make laws that violate the Constitution of the United States. But you have to have the money to take it to the Supreme Court to get justice. Not everybody has that money or time to do it. But because that cake maker was fined $150,000, that would have put him in bankruptcy. And he did. He stopped selling for while the case was going on. But he won the case in the Supreme Court. So you see there's a cultural shift taking place, and it's again the material point of view opposed to the spiritual point of view. And this is the whole question of Arjuna also. He presented a material point of view why he shouldn't fight, and Krishna rejected it. And when Krishna answered all of Arjuna's questions, Arjuna did the opposite of what he was arguing. He actually engaged in the fight. Because he developed a transcendental vision. Now you can say, wait a minute. He was right not to fight against his family. After he read Bhagavad Gita, he fought against his family. Maybe we shouldn't read Bhagavad Gita then. Right? So you have, some people will think like that, right? But actually, what Krishna is saying here in 2nd chapter, 11th verse, is that the knowledge of matter, the soul, and the super soul of Krishna is even more important than religious formularies. What are the religious formularies? Don't lie, don't cheat, don't do this, don't do that, so forth. The 10 Commandments or the regulative principles in Krishna consciousness. But we see that Krishna asks Yudhishthira to lie and say that Aswatthama is dead. So he refuses to do that. So he's refusing to do it on the basis of mundane morality. And Krishna is asking him to do it on the basis of spiritual, let's say, principle. So again, we see the tension between the 2 points of view. So what are we going to decide? So we have to see the difference of making decisions based on the 5 factors of action: the place, the senses, the endeavor, the person, and Krishna. Most people only take 4 or 3 or 2 or 1 factor into consideration when they make a decision, and therefore most decisions that they make in their life are wrong. Just like the decision to have an abortion is wrong, but someone can give 100 reasons from the material point of view why it's right. So, which one, which way are you going to go? You're going to go from the material point of view or the spiritual point of view? Okay, so I just wanted to bring that up before we continue, because this was something we discussed last week, but it was a very important point. And oftentimes from the material point of view, something may seem to be right, but from the spiritual point of view, it may be completely wrong. Okay, so now we're on verse 50, second chapter, verse 50. Buddhiyukto chahatiha ube sukrita duskrite tasmat yogaya yujasva yoga karma sukoshalam. Okay, so this verse says, a man engaged in devotional service rids himself of both good and bad actions, even in this life. Therefore strive for yoga, which is the art of all work. Okay. So who's going to read the purport? Oh, Agastya, right.
Since time immemorial, each living entity has accumulated the various reactions of his good and bad works. As such, he is continuously ignorant of his real constitutional position. One's ignorance can be removed by the instruction of the Bhagavad Gita, which teaches one to surrender unto Lord Krishna in all respects and become liberated from the chained victimization of action and reaction, birth after birth. Arjuna is therefore advised to act in Krishna consciousness, the purifying process of resultant action.
Okay, now see. A lot is being said here. It doesn't look like a lot, but it is a lot. So this verse says, a man engaged in devotional service rids himself of both good and bad actions even in this life. So this is a hard thing for people to understand. Again, there's a difference between a material vision and a spiritual vision. So, materially, people think that religion means doing good things. Like if you see a homeless person with a sign, please give me some money. So you give him $5. Right? You say, I did a good deed. Well, that is, it depends what the homeless person does with the $5. If they take the $5 and buy a Bhagavad Gita, then it's a good thing. But if they take the $5 and buy some beer, right, or cigarettes, then it's a bad thing. So, if it's a good thing, then the person that gave the $5, they get 1/6 of the good reaction. And if it's a bad thing, they get 1/6 of the bad reaction. But both things, good or bad reaction, will force them to take birth again to get the result. So actually, good and bad is bad.
Good. Oh, we had
What?
that for homework.
Yeah, I know you had that fun.
Oh, we had that for homework.
Good and bad is bad. But in the material sense, good and bad, good is good and bad is bad. But in the spiritual sense, the good and bad are both bad. Why are they both bad? Why are they both bad? Go
Good and bad.
ahead. Why are they both bad?
Because you keep repeating birth.
Yeah, you have to take birth again. You haven't solved the real problem of life, which is birth, death, old age, and disease. So what is the alternative? Okay, since you did homework, what's the alternative?
We'll do a karma.
Is that what you're going to say?
Yeah.
Yeah, akarma. What is akarma? Go ahead, tell us what akarma is.
It's doing.
Is it
No, doing Krishna consciousness,
Krishna karma.
like chanting and reading the Bhagavad Gita.
Well, what does that mean exactly? Someone else can do chanting. They can chant marijuana. Is that good? What do you mean by doing Krishna consciousness? What is the benefit of Krishna consciousness? Read this first. A man engages in devotional service to rid himself of both good and bad actions, even in this life. So what is the third path? You said akarma. So what is the advantage of akarma?
Get rid of good and bad karma.
Yeah, you're no longer subject to the law of karma, which is either good or bad reactions. So that's why it's called akarma. There's action without any reaction. There's only spiritual benefit. And how is that? When you act only to please Krishna, you don't have any personal motive. And the basis of that is the verse that we studied before, 2nd chapter, 48th verse, Karmani vadikadaste, mafala sukadachana, makarma fala, 47, makarma fala hetu buhur, mate sangastu, akarmani. That is the fundamental verse in the 2nd chapter which defines the path of transcendence, transcending the law of karma, transcending reactive work, transcending birth, death, old age, and disease. And what does it say? You have a right to work, but you do not have a right to enjoy the results. Nor should you consider yourself the cause of the results. What is the cause of the result? Krishna. Like if you do good work, you get a good result. But who's giving you that result?
Krishna.
It's Krishna. If you do bad work, you get a bad result. Who's giving you that result?
Krishna.
Krishna, right. But people, like, let's say a politician says, I did this, and I did that, and I did this, and I did that, and I. He's taking credit for so many things that he did. But actually, the devotee always gives credit to Krishna because he knows he couldn't have done anything without Krishna's help. Krishna gave him the senses, he gave him the body, he gave him the mind, he gave him the communication between mind and body. All these things are under the control of Krishna. It's not under our control, right? He gave him the objects of the senses. He gave him the process of perception. Now we can manipulate this. Just like, okay, why you come here to talk to him? You can talk to him any time of the day. You can send him an email. You just for 1 hour, you just listen, right? What were you telling him? Tell everyone what you were telling him. What was so important that you had to talk to him?
I was just asking him if he was coming to a birthday party.
Now, is that more important than Bhagavad Gita, or is that? No, we're not trying to make fun of you. But you see, you could have asked him after the class, right? Or you could have wrote a little note, like, "Are you coming to the birthday party?" But like that, it's very disturbing to everybody. Don't do that. Okay. So, to understand the difference, the benefit of Krishna consciousness, there's non-reactive work called akarma, defined by this verse, 247. Karmani badikalaste mafale sukadachana makarma fala hetu buhur mate sangastu karmani. You have a right to perform your duty, but you do not have a right to enjoy the results. Who should enjoy the results? Krishna. Nor should you consider yourself the cause of the result. Who's the cause of the result? Krishna. Nor should you give up doing your duty. You shouldn't say, well, if I can't enjoy the result and I can't claim to be the cause of the result, then why should I do it? Right? But no. You should do your duty. Now, duty, what does duty mean? What is a duty?
Dharma. Responsibilities.
Huh?
Responsibilities. Dharma.
It's a responsibility, yeah. But it's something you must do. You cannot say, I'm not going to do it. In the United States Army, if you refuse to take an order, they'll put you in jail. As soon as you join the Army, it's with the understanding that they're going to tell you to do something, you have to do it. If you don't do it, they put you in jail. Right? You can't say, I'm going to join the Army, but I'll do what I want to do. You'll end up in jail. You say, can you join the Indian Army and tell your superior officer, I don't care what you say, I'm going to do what I'm going to do? Huh? What would they do to you?
Five.
Huh?
Five. You need to go.
Court-martial, yeah. So, duty means it's something you're obliged to do. You can't say no. Duty to who? Duty to Krishna. See? So, if you say, let's say you want to get initiated, so you promise the Guru, no meat eating, no gambling, no intoxicants, no illicit activities. Your duty is not to do those four things. But then your duty is always chant Hare Krishna, 16 rounds minimum, good rounds every day. Read Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, come to class, and eat only prasadam, and always come to the temple and do service. So if you get initiated, this is a duty. You have to avoid these four things and do these four things. You can't say, oh, today I'm feeling tired, I'm not going to chant 16 rounds. No, you can't do that. Once you get initiated, you have a duty. And similarly, if you have a human body, your duty is to use it only for self-realization. Let's look at this verse, 5th chapter. Kayana Manasa Vidya Vidyatmanam Yamacha. That's the way. Kevalar. So, 5th chapter, 11th verse. So, who is going to read this?
Me.
Krishna. By the way, he's become Krishna 1, and you have become Krishna 2. Okay.
What a coincidence, both of them are there today.
Yeah.
Purport.
Yeah.
When one acts in Krishna consciousness for the satisfaction.
No, this is 5th chapter, 11th verse.
Yeah, purport is reading.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Act with body, mind, intelligence, and even with the senses, only for the purpose of purification.
Right. So in other words, yogis have a duty only to use the body, the senses, the mind, intelligence for for self-realization, not for sense gratification. So in your school, what do your schoolmates use their body, mind, intelligence for?
Sense gratification.
They're not yogis. They're bogies. Bogi is bogi and yogi. Bogi uses everything for sense gratification. Yogi uses everything for self-realization. Okay, so now read the purport.
When one acts in Krishna consciousness for the satisfaction of the senses of Krishna, any action, whether of the body, mind, intelligence, or even the senses, is purified of material contamination. There are no material reactions resulting from the activities of a Krishna consciousness person. Therefore, purified activities, which are generally called sadachara,
Sadachara. Sadachara. This is a very good word. It's in Hindi also, isn't it? Yeah, we use the same. Yeah, you have to learn this word. It has a big meaning.
It's not heard anymore, like in the general talk.
No?
In school, I heard long back. After that, nobody uses that in talking general.
Really? See? Cultural change.
Are the purified activities
Go ahead.
can be easily performed by acting in Krishna consciousness?
Yeah, if you become sadachara, greed, no lust, no anger, no envy, no
Sri Rupa Goswami in his Bhakti
rasamrita.
Rasamrita Sindhu 1.2.187 describes this as follows. Eha yasya harer dasye karmana manasya gira
Nikilasvapi apastasu.
Jivan mukta sattva.
Okay, so now there's another big word here, jivan mukta. Jivan mukta means, huh? So if you are sadachar, you will quickly become jivan mukta. See? So now you're learning Sanskrit, you're learning Hindi, and you're learning Krishna consciousness all at the same time. Okay, go ahead. Did I have this word in Hindi, jivan mukta?
Yeah.
Odia you have.
Jivan Mukti.
Yeah, you have?
Yeah. Jivan Mukta.
Jivan Mukti, not Mukta.
Mukti. Yeah, jivan. You see? That's why I say you're learning Sanskrit, you're learning Hindi, and you're learning Krishna consciousness. Go ahead.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is living within the body of a living entity, is the controller of all living entities all over the universe. The body consists of 9 gates: 2 eyes, 2 nostrils, 2 ears, 1 mouth.
You stop me jivan mukta there.
Although he may be engaged in many so-called material activities.
See, now this is a big concept. You can be liberated in this body, in the material world, by sadachar, by purified activities. That's why a yogi only uses the mind, the senses, the body, everything, only for purification, for self-realization, right? And therefore he becomes purified very quickly, and he can eventually become jivan mukta, liberated even in this body and soul. So it doesn't, nothing touches it. Earth doesn't touch it. No insects or anything can touch his body, because his body is considered spiritual. Now all of us are ordinary people. If you're Hindu, you're burned. Because that way, most people, even if they're pious, they maintain the bodily identification. So they burn the body so they cannot stay attached to it. That's why they burn the body. Otherwise, just like, many times people are afraid to stay in a cemetery overnight. Why? Why are they afraid to stay in a cemetery overnight?
Because some ghosts will probably haunt.
Yes. Why should there be ghosts in a cemetery?
He's asking what is cemetery.
Huh?
What is cemetery?
It's the graveyard.
It's a graveyard.
Graveyard is graveyard.
Where they bury.
They bury the dead bodies, right?
They won't.
So therefore, there's a very strong chance that the people that are buried there have become ghosts. They don't want to leave the body, so they become like a ghost, attached to that body. Even though the body is dead, they still have an attachment to it. And so, therefore, in Hinduism, they burn the body so that there's nothing to be attached to. It's burned, and they throw the ashes in the Ganges. They purify the ashes and they throw them into the Ganges, and then the ashes dissipate, so there's no body to be attached to it. But when it's a pure devotee, they don't burn the body. They bury the body, but they bury it in salt to preserve it, because it's considered that the whole body, even though it's material of the genuine pure devotee, is spiritual, because he used it only, or he or she used it only in the service of God. Now also, if you go to Sri Rangam, you'll see Ramanujacharya. His body is there. It's still there. And it hasn't really deteriorated very much, even though he left his body 1,000 years ago. Because highly spiritual person, pure devotee. Did you know that? You can see the
I
body.
know, but I haven't seen.
You can actually see the body of Ramanujacharya.
Yeah, I know that.
Yeah. Well, there's pictures. You can go on the internet and see.
So it's not very.
No, it's not buried. He's right on the side of the altar of Sri Ram.
He's near with saffron and chandan and all, right?
Maybe,
Yeah.
but still the body is there. You can see the face, you can see the body, the whole body is there. Because he used his body only in the service of Krishna. So that's what this verse says. Iha yasya hare dasya karmana manasajira akilasvapi vasta su jivan mukta sa uchyate. That a person who uses his activities, his mind, his body, the senses, everything in the service of the Lord is a liberated person, even within the material body, although he may be engaged in so many material activities. So, the activities that he's engaged in, like for example, Prabhupada would translate and write books. And then he would go to the bank, put money in the bank, and he would travel on airplanes, go from one country to another region. And he would organize festivals, and he started temples. And so from one point of view, he was engaged in many material activities. But the purpose of those activities was to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. He had no personal motive. And he never really changed his style of life. He always, was fully engaged in Krishna's service. How did he write 160 books in 11 years? And some of those books, like you see Bhagavad Gita, is 1,000 pages. Srimad Bhagavatam, each canto is over 1,000 pages. And so many other books, and so many lectures, and traveled 14 times around the world and opened up over 108 temples and initiated over close to 5,000 devotees. How did he do that in 11 years? Did he do that by sleeping 16 hours a day? No, he did it by sleeping only 1 or 2 or 3 hours maximum a day. The rest of the time he was always engaged in Krishna's consciousness. Therefore, he's Jivan Mukta. He was able to do things that other people can't even imagine doing in such a short period of time. And he was between 70 and 80, he did all that. Between 70 and 81, he did all that.
Close to the Goswamis.
Yeah, like the Goswamis.
6 Goswamis.
Yes. So, you see, he was a liberated soul. No ordinary person can do that, especially when they're 70, 80 years old. How can they do that? They don't have the energy.
Prabhuji, when they sleep, like that liberated soul, that particular 1 hour, 2 hour, where are they in their sleep? What do they do? Like, do they dream anything?
Prabhupada was asked that question. He says, sometimes I dream of kichoris offered to Krishna. He liked kichoris. Yeah. His dad used to make kichoris. Yeah, they think of Krishna all the time, even in their sleep.
So there was one article where it was written like Christianity was started in one region with same set of people, like similar, not diverse people.
Yeah.
Same with Muslim religion.
Yeah.
But what Prabhupada did, he connected the whole world from so many different countries, different ethnicity. It's like, if you think in that context, it is really, really huge.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in so short time, just
11 years. Yeah.
It's greater than all the big acharyas, and Jesus सबसे बड़ा important is Prabhupada.
Okay, so, did you finish reading?
No. He has no false ego, for he does not believe that he is this material body, or that he possesses the body. He knows that he is not this body and that the body does not belong to him. He
Who
himself,
does it belong to?
Krishna.
So it should only be used in the service of Krishna. Go ahead.
He himself belongs to Krishna and the body too belongs to Krishna. When he applies everything produced of the body, mind, intelligence, words, life, wealth, etc., whatever he may have within his possession to Krishna's service, he is once devoted with Krishna.
Dovetail.
Dovetailed
What does that mean, dovetail?
together.
Connected. Yeah, go ahead.
With Krishna. He is one with Krishna and he is devoid of the false ego that leads one to believe that he is the body, etc. This is the perfect stage of Krishna consciousness.
So when I said he is one with Krishna, is that Mayavad philosophy? That's not the answer.
No,
Huh?
no.
It's not Mayavad philosophy? But that's what the Mayavadis say. They say all is one. Yes, but
He is only,
is that the answer?
this person's thoughts are same like Krishna. He is one with Krishna in terms of thoughts.
In terms of desire.
Desire.
Whatever Krishna wants, he wants the same thing. Right. Yes. So let's say you have, let's say there's a marriage. If the husband and wife, okay, how many people say no?
This is
Of course,
like
you've never been married, so you don't know.
they're simultaneously one and different.
What?
They're simultaneously one and different.
They're one and different. They're one in purpose, but they're two different individuals, but they have the same consensus understanding. That's the nice way of saying it, consensus understanding. So if a husband and wife are always have the same consensus understanding, then they're one. You meet the wife, you meet the husband, they both have the same point of view.
Yeah, so like, so you eat.
No, I didn't say that. You misheard because you have imperfect ears. You heard eat because you can't wait to eat something. No, the husband and wife, if they have the same point of view about what is the goal of life, then they're one in the sense that they have the same desires, the same aspirations, and they work cooperatively together to achieve that unique goal that they both have. But if one of them has this point of view, the other one has that point of view, then, first of all, the marriage is not very compatible at that point, because they have different points of view of what is the purpose of life. So, how do you arrive at a consensus point of view? That's the question. When both husband and wife, or when two people read the Bhagavad Gita together, Bhagavad Gita as it is, Yatarup, or in Bengali they say, what is it? No, okay. Anyway, Hindi is Yatarup, as it is, right? So whenever you read Bhagavad Gita together, or in a group, and if you understand what's being said, you'll come to a consensus point of view. And if one person reads Bhagavad Gita and the other person doesn't, you always have a different point of view. Yes.
So if you and another person have the same point of view, you're one with each other?
Well, let me explain how you're one. Let me explain how you're
Like,
one.
not in that way, but...
No, let me explain how you're one. You're one in your, as far as the goal of life goes. Right. You both come to the, if you both read Bhagavad Gita together as it is, Bhagavad Gita as it is, Prabhupada's edition, you'll come to the same opinion of life as Arjuna. And what is that? Param Brahma, Param Dhamma, Pavitram, Param Bhavam, Purusham Sasvatim, Tam Divyam, Adi Devam Ajam Vibhum. Arjuna came to this conclusion. Krishna is Param Brahma, the supreme personality of Godhead. Param Dhamma, the supreme destination for all people. Pavitram Paramam Bhavam, he is completely pure, and Paramam Bhavam, and his nature is transcendental to the modes of material nature, to Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. And Pavitram Paramam Bhavam, Purusham Sasvatam Divyam, he's this transcendental person. He's not touched by the material nature. He's uniquely in the spiritual nature, transcendental to everything, to ignorance, to time, to the modes of material nature, to lust, anger, greed, etc. And Paramam Purusham Divyam, Adi Devam, he's the original personality of Godhead. Ajam, he was never born and he never dies. And Vibhum, he's the greatest of all. No one is equal to him or greater than him. This is Arjuna's mature understanding of Krishna. And if you read Bhagavad Gita as it is, you'll come to the same understanding. Therefore, since you understand that I'm the eternal servant of Krishna, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, no one is equal to him or greater than him, and the goal of life, therefore, and also Krishna is Bhoktaram Yagitatasam, Sarvaloka Maheswaram, Suridam Sarvabhutanam, Yatvamam Santim Richati. One can have complete peace in his life if he accepts that Krishna is the supreme beneficiary of all sacrifices. Bhoktaram. He is Maheshwaram, the supreme proprietor of everything, including this body, the senses, the mind, the intelligence. And he is the best friend, Suhridam. Therefore, one has peace of mind knowing that Krishna will always protect him, and as long as he uses everything that Krishna has given him in the service of the Lord. So he's given us the body, the mind, the senses, the intelligence. He's giving us life. He's given us the objects of the senses. So real education is learning how to use all those things in the service of Krishna. So you come to this understanding by reading Bhagavad Gita. If husband and wife read Bhagavad Gita, they'll come to that understanding, and then they'll plan their life in such a way to reach the goal of pure devotion to Krishna and love for Krishna. That's oneness. Even though you're two individuals, but you have the same goal, the same understanding of how to reach that goal. Now, why is it that people have many different ideas? It's due to the influence of in the world. And so many different. I'm coming to it in a second. 17th chapter, verse number 3. Does anyone ever ask you, say, Adesha, how come there's so many different religions in the world? What are you going to say? Chapter 17, verse number 3. This answers the question. This also answers the question why so many people have so many different ideas about what the goal of life is. Right. One person says, the goal of life is to smoke marijuana, to be happy. Another person says, the goal of life is to make a lot of money and enjoy. Another person says, the goal of life is to beg, borrow, and steal, but always be happy with other people's money. So everybody has a different idea. But now you're going to understand why. All right, who's going to read? Okay. Go ahead.
Yamanachi, as it is.
Oh, Yamanachi?
O son of Bharata, according to one's
Just give him the book so he can hold it.
sorry. According to one's existence under the various modes of nature, one evolves a particular kind of faith. The living being is said to be of a particular faith according to the modes he has acquired.
Okay, can you to us what you just read? What do you understand? We won't look at the purport yet. What do you understand from that statement of that person? Why do people have different, why are there different religions?
Because of the different modes of nature,
What are those modes?
goodness, passion, and ignorance.
Goodness, passion, and ignorance. Right.
So they basically develop a mind, like they basically develop a kind of faith.
A kind of faith, yes. Like, for example, some people believe, some people have faith in ghosts. In India, especially in the villages, sometimes people would go and leave offerings in front of a tree. Why do they do that? Huh?
So the ghost will get pleased and they will
They think there's a ghost there, and they want to please the ghost, so they'll leave offerings there. They do this in Orissa.
And that I don't know, but like we do worship Aswastha tree.
Aswata. I forget how you say it. The banyan tree.
We worship the people tree.
People, okay. Yeah.
And the reason to worship is because it gives oxygen 24 hours a day. So
That's not the original reason. That's a modern reason.
yeah, that's a modern reason, but the spiritual reason was like it's a auspicious tree. But the scientific reason is because it gives oxygen, so you should protect that tree.
Okay. You do agree with me, that's a modern understanding, yeah. Okay, let's, but this is explained in the Bhagavad Gita 11th chapter. And we'll come back to this. We have to read the purport. If we look on... Second. Yeah, let's look on 10th chapter, verse number 26. Krishna says, Asvata savrikshanam. He says, of all trees, I am the banyan tree. Therefore, people give special respect to the banyan tree. So there are three trees that are given special respect. One is the Pipali? Pipal tree, yeah. It's because of its relationship to Krishna. That's the original reason. Alright, it might be its relation to Krishna or to Shiva. I think maybe the Pipal tree or one of those trees is to Lord Shiva. But the banyan tree is related to Krishna. And it says here, the banyan tree, Aswatha, is one of the highest and most beautiful trees, and people in India often worship it as one of their daily morning rituals, because it's closely associated with Krishna.
Yeah, we water Tulsi plant, we also water Aswastha plant every day.
Every day.
Yeah.
Okay. So, let's come back to this verse number 3, 17th chapter. Now let's read the purport. Go ahead. Read out loud. Let him hold the book. 17th chapter, 3rd verse, the purport. Okay. You got it?
Yeah. Everyone has a particular type of faith, regardless of what he is. But his faith is considered good, passionate, or ignorant, according to the nature he has acquired. Thus, according to his particular type of faith, one associates with certain persons. Now the real fact is that every living being, as is stated in the 15th chapter, is originally a fragmental part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, one is originally transcendental to all the modes of material nature. But when one forgets his relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead and comes into contact with the material nature and conditional life, he generates his own position by association with the different varieties of material nature. The results in artificial faith and existence are only material. Although one may be conducted by some impression or some conception of life, originally he is nirguna, or transcendental.
Okay, so now, what's being said here is that we all originally were with Krishna, but we misused accepting or rejecting Krishna. So we decided to reject Krishna. Therefore, we're put in the material world where we're given a chance. Has to stay quiet. Take him in the other room. So we chose to become Krishna's competitor. So we're put in the material world where we can try and control some part of material nature and think we've become like a god. What is a god? God is a controller. So there are many controllers. Lord Shiva is a controller, Brahma is a controller. Krishna, right? It's a supreme Ishvara. Brahma is also an Ishvara, Shiva is also an Ishvara, Indra is also an Ishvara. And Agni is also an Ishvara, Yamaraj is also an Ishvara. But Krishna is Parama Ishvara. He's the supreme God. These others are also gods in a sense because they're controllers. And we try and become a controller also when it comes to the material world. We have the mentality of dominating and enjoying what we dominate. So somebody can dominate a Tesla and enjoy it. Right? Another person can dominate a big estate and enjoy it. Another person can dominate a big company and try and enjoy it. Right? But as soon as we try and dominate, we get entrapped by the laws of karma. And we become attached to temporary material things. And this causes pain, extreme pain, especially if we lose something that we once dominated. It could be a person, it could be a material thing. Okay, so in the process of trying to dominate, we come under the control of Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas, but usually Rajas and Tamas. And under the control of Rajas and Tamas, we commit sinful activities. And that puts us more deeply into the cycle of birth, death, old age, and disease. And under the control of these modes, we develop a certain way of religion, of yes, of beliefs, of relationships, etc. All this is contrary to our original state of pure love and devotion for Krishna. And there's no end to it unless you meet genuine devotees who can inspire you to do what we're doing right now, to go in the opposite direction, to undo the influence of the modes of material nature. That's what this part of the Bhagavad Gita, the second chapter, verses 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, is the preliminary explanation of how to become free from the karma bonds, from the entanglement of karma, from the entanglement of the three modes of material nature, from the entanglement of lust, anger, greed, etc., from the entanglement of duality, from the entanglement of illusory fake news that we become convinced is true, but is not true. Right? So, and part of that is developing a particular type of faith. Like, for example, there was one man in India, in Calcutta, he was an industrialist. And during World War II, he became rich and richer by supplying raw materials to Hitler's Germany. So what did he do? Like every good Hindu, he put Hitler on his altar. And he did arti. Om Jaya Jagadesha Hare Hitler. Jaya Jagadesha Hare Hitler. Right? Why? Because Hitler made him rich. So he put him on the altar. See? So that's a type of faith. Right? So now, you'll see in India, India's an amazing place. It's amazing. It's a gigantic pot of khichdi.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's huge pot of khichdi. You know, it's like, 1,000,000 square miles of khichdi. You know.
So yeah, right. Yeah, actually, based on that, one of my working back in India, TCS, and one of the client from like US, and they come, and he was talking like, you have so many people, different language, different food, different, so much diversity here. So many issues, so many problems. Still, how this country is running. I mean, there is nothing similar here. How then it makes me believe real that there must be a God actually, because it's so chaos here. I don't know how this country is running with so much diversity. Means every 10 miles
Right.
the language change, every like food.
It's organized
different.
chaos. Organized chaos.
Yeah, that's organized. So definitely that makes me believe in the God actually. That's
Yeah.
what they were saying.
Yeah. That's a fact. That's a fact. That's right.
How it's tied together, everybody.
Well, how is it tied together? It's tied together because originally Lord Krishna was there, Rama was there, and Alvars was there, and Madhvacharya was there, and Vishnu Swami was there, and Nimbarka Swami was there, and so forth, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Ganga Mata is there. That's what's keeping it together. Right? Even though there's so much khichdi, it's still staying together. Right? Like, for example, I'll give you an example of khichdi. Right? The BJP outlawed killing cows. Right? So they thought this would solve a problem. It's created another problem, a bigger problem. Now there's cows all over the place because when the cows get old, the farmers don't want to keep them because it costs too much money. So they're loose. So now there's herds of cows running loose, eating the fields, eating the wheat, eating the vegetables, and they're all over the cities now. And it's created a big problem. So see, this is the problem with government. Governments, they're the worst managers in the world. They don't know how to manage anything. Even if they have good intentions, they still don't manage properly. So if they need to stop cows from being slaughtered, right now, but they didn't make any provision, understanding, the farmers, they're not going to support an old cow. It doesn't make sense to them. They don't have that purity of the soul to say, we'll sacrifice, but we're not going to.
They're also very greedy.
And they're greedy, yeah. So they're just letting the cows go loose, right? And the cows go loose, they're on their own. It's even worse, right? So the government has to make some provision to take care of all those cows. You know how many cows, just in one state in India, there's 20,000 loose cows right now.
What is that?
So in Vrindavan also there are loose cows, and they're hoarding big hoardings for each and every month or whatever meeting thing over there. They're saying, hey, we have this Goshala, donate money here, and they're still on the streets. There's so many cows. If you have
India is every type of cheating has originated in India. They're just learning here. They've only learned 10%. India 100%. They're just learning slowly in the West. No, but I mean the intention of Modi is good, but they didn't think think it out clearly. That the people are not going to keep the old cows. They're not. Even though they're Hindus, even though it's their dharma, they're not going to do it. So what are you going to do now? If you take all of India now, there's at least 300,000 to 400,000 cows that are loose, just walking around, and they're getting killed. They're being run over. They're starving to death. They're eating rubbish. They're passing stool and urine everywhere. They're eating crops.
Polythene.
Huh?
Polythene bags.
Polythene bags. Yeah, that's devastating because then it ruins their digestive tract. So So you see, government is the worst manager in the world. You know, it doesn't matter which government. They're all bad managers. Not one good government in the world today. So you make a plan, you have to have a comprehensive plan. You just can't make a plan, you know, we're not going to kill the cows anymore. I'm not for killing cows, but you have to understand that if people are greedy, they're not going to keep the old cows, or the sick cows, or the lame cows, or the injured cows. They just let them go. Okay, so now this influence of the modes of material nature will influence the way people develop faith. So some people develop faith in ghosts. Some people develop faith in demigods. Some people develop faith in some guy because he produced, some basma, some ash, right? And they kept the ash in their house, and all of a sudden their business did better. So that means he's God, because he gave him some basma, and the business went better, right? Huh?
Nothing.
Yeah. So you see, that's why there's so many different points of view, so many religions, so many gods in India. If today they announce on the television in India, will the real God please stand up? How many people do you think would stand up in India? Huh?
1 million people.
Everybody.
Maybe not everybody, but there'd be a lot of people would stand up. A lot of people would say, "Yeah, I'm God," and they all look at each other. Okay, you say you're God, you say I'm God, we're okay. Right. See? This is complete nonsense. It's making a mockery of Hinduism. You know? Okay. See, that's why the Muslims have a strong position. They say, Wahad Allah, there's only one God. You ask a Hindu and say, oh, there's many gods. Well, that's why the Hindus cannot agree. The Muslims will vote in bloc Congress in India. The Hindus, they'll vote, BJP, this one, Congress 2, Congress 5. They'll vote anyway. They can't agree. It's because of this yatamat tatapat. As many thoughts, as many truths. And that's a nonsense philosophy. That means there's no truth anymore. Whatever you think is the truth.
Yeah.
So that means there's no truth. And the whole point is, the spiritual life is based on parampara, based on disciplic succession. Evam parampara praptam imam rajasaya vidu sakalina mahata yoganasta parantapa. Let's look at that 4th chapter, verse number 2. This one man came to our temple from the Supreme, huh?
Which verse?
4th chapter, 2nd verse. This supreme science was thus received through the chain of disciplic succession, and the saintly kings understood it in that way. But in course of time, the succession was broken, and therefore the science as it is appears to be lost. So parampara means succession of pure devotees, beginning from Krishna, going to Brahma, and then going to Narada, and so forth, down to the Deity. And there's 4 different Vaishnava sampradayas, and 4 different paramparas. However, they all have the same point of view, that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So they're all valid sampradayas. So the parampara is the institution. It's actually the religious institution. It's made up of pure devotees who have not altered the original message of Krishna. Therefore, what you're hearing today here in Bhagavad Gita is the same thing Arjuna heard 5,000 years ago. But there are other Bhagavad Gitas, you read them, you're not hearing what Krishna spoke 5,000 years ago. You're hearing what the author wants you to hear. Just like Gandhi writes a commentary to Bhagavad Gita, and he says the whole Bhagavad Gita is about nonviolence. that is the most nonsense statement that's ever been made in the history of the world. Bhagavad Gita is spoken on a battlefield. Arjuna doesn't want to fight, and Krishna convinces him to fight. So how can it be nonviolence? Is there any nonviolence there? But he writes commentary. Basically, he's misrepresenting Bhagavad Gita completely. So that's there are many editions of Bhagavad Gita. One man came to our temple and he said, Prabhuji, your Guruji is wrong. It's not Krishna who spoke Bhagavad Gita, it's Shivaji. And he wrote a whole book. The book is this thick. He said, I want to give you these books. I said, how many you have? He said, I have 30. How many you want to give me? I'll give you 25. I said, no, give me all 30. He said, okay, I'll give you all 30. So after he left, I threw him out. No, because, look what Sanjaya says. Let's look at Bhagavad Gita. Sanjaya says, on verse 76, 18th chapter, verse 76, he says, Rajan samsmitya samvadam imam adbhutam keshavarjuna yo punyam hishyami cha muhur. He says, O king, as I repeatedly recall this wondrous and holy dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna, I take pleasure, being thrilled at every moment. So does he say between Krishna and Shiva? And look at verse 78. It says, Yatra Yogeshwara Krishno Yatra Partha Dhanurdaraha Tatra Shri Vijayo Bhutir Dhruvam Nitir Matir Mama. Wherever there's Krishna, he doesn't say wherever there's Shiva, he says wherever there's Krishna, the master of all mystics, and wherever there is Arjuna, the supreme archer, there will also certainly be opulence, victory, extraordinary power, and morality. That is my opinion. So this man comes with a big stack of books. Each book is about that thick. And he says, my Guru proved that Krishna did not speak Bhagavad Gita, Shivaji did. This is India. This is the kitchen. This is what we're faced with. You know, it's complete nonsense. But yet, because he wrote a book, people know it must be true. He wrote such a big book.
But Prabhuji, as we read, the modes of material nature influences our faith and everything.
Yes.
How come only Hindus are getting more affected by that?
Oh, Wahab. But there are many sects in Islam also.
Same like Christianity.
Same in Christianity. This is Kali Yuga. This is Kali Yuga. Even the Quran, Muhammad says that the Jews have purposely disseminated false information to make the Muslims fight with each other. It says Muhammad says it in the Quran. And
What did he say? Jews made them.
he said the Jews have purposely disseminated wrong information to make the Muslims fight with each other. And if you look at it, it's true. You know, Iraq and Iran had a big war. They're both Muslim countries. Problem. You have the Ahmadis and the Sunni problem. You have, what's his name in India? Ali? No.
There are Gori Muslims in India.
Yeah, there are different types of Muslims, right? The Sunnis hate them.
Also, there's a Muslim also, they don't worship Allah. Like, not all Muslims worship Allah.
No, the Muslims, they argue about who is the successor of Muhammad.
Oh, there's something else to argue about.
Yeah,
It was almost like politics there too.
yeah. The Mahdi is the future prophet who's going to come and end all the disputes.
The problem is there are one Quran. We have so many scriptures that make so confusion.
No,
in
no,
India.
they have Quran, they have Hadith. Hadith is a huge book. All
But
about,
still less, right? Here we have like so many, means like 4
They-
Veda, 18 Puranas,
they
and
also
so
have-
many things.
and then
Everything is come out with the sects. Vaishnavism has so many branches, so many things. So
you're right, but you know, in every religion they have the same thing. You know. In fact, Akbar,
But let's-
he started a new religion. Ullah Din. Din Ilahi, yeah. He started a new religion, Din Ilahi, where he merged Hinduism and Islam together. It didn't work.
Sufism.
No,
That's-
no.
Sufism was
So is
there
that
long before.
Sufism is different. Sufis started by the Shaivites. The Shaivites infiltrated Islam and started Sufism. Sufism, the Muslims hate Sufis. They hate them. Although Sufis are very, some of the greatest poets in Arabic and Farsi were Sufis. But the Muslims hate them because Sufis incorporated, let's say, Vedic Dharma with Muslim philosophy. So they believe in gurus, they believe in devatas and all these things, and it's completely against Islam. So you have to study all these things, but actually it's not worth it because you just waste
Not
your
much
time.
time to waste, Prabhuji,
Yes.
is what I
You
think.
waste your time studying all this. What are you going to say?
I read that Sufism is their soft power for conversion. So
What?
it's their soft power, using they spread religion based on their mic, isn't it? On soul. Okay, they converted people, and Sufism is another way where people say, hey, it's a very good religion, whatever it goes in the country, and then later it all becomes Muslim.
The Muslims hate the Sufis. Believe me. They hate them. They think they're complete nonsense.
The article was about Indonesia and other places. That is how it came.
And Sufism is more attractive than traditional Islam because they chant, they dance. In Islam you're not allowed to do those things. The Sufis are great musicians. Okay, so anyway, we deviate a little bit. Now we understand, why there are so many different religions and different types of faith. It's by the influence of the three modes of material nature. So if a person is in the mode of, like for example, I met some people who always smoke marijuana, right? And I met one person in France. He looked exactly like Lord Shiva. He was tall. He had the trisul. He dressed like Lord Shiva. He had matted hair like Lord Shiva. And his name was Shiva. And he had Parvati with him also. And they'd walk around. You think you're dreaming when you see them. You couldn't believe it. And what did he do? He lived in a cave. And people would come. And they would smoke charas, or marijuana with him. And they would ask him to bless the chilam, the pipe. And he would say, Om Shivaya Namaha. And then they would all smoke and they would all get high and they would hallucinate. And, this is like the nonsense. Right? Complete not. Wait 1 second. I see your arm. So you see, and people they thought he was the incarnation of Shiva in France. I mean, the French, not the Indians, the French. Indians was crazy. And he was crazy. He stayed with me 1 week in my house in Paris. And he actually thought he was Lord Shiva. Huh? Like Pondraka, yes. So, you see, people develop these types of mentalities due to the influence of Rajas and Tamas. Okay, what's your question, Raj?
Does that person have like a snake around his neck?
He had a false snake. He had a false snake. A plastic snake. No, he looked exactly like Lord Shiva. And he was very tall, and he had a big trishul. He would walk with the trishul. People would they rub their eyes, and they couldn't believe it. He would walk into, like a mall like that. And people would just be shocked. Huh?
Did he have a crescent on his head?
No.
It's something. He had big matted hair, went up like this and down. I don't know. I don't
Did he have
remember the
blue
picture.
skin?
He didn't have blue skin.
Oh.
He had darkish little skin. He's like tan. Yeah. Okay. All right. So.
Therefore, one has to become cleansed of the material contamination that he has acquired, in order to regain his Krishna consciousness. If one is situated in Krishna consciousness, then that path is guaranteed for his elevation to the perfectional stage. If one does not take to the path of self-realization, then he is surely to be conducted by the influence of the modern nature. The word Shraddha or faith is very significant in this verse. Shraddha or faith originally comes out of the word of goodness. One's faith may be in a demigod or some created god or some mental concoction. One strong faith is supposed to be productive of works of material goodness. But in material conditional life, no works are completely purified. They are mixed. They are not in pure goodness. Pure goodness is transcendental. In purified goodness, one can understand the real nature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As long as one's faith is not completely in purified goodness, the faith is subject to contamination by any of the modes of material nature. The contaminated modes of material nature expand to the heart. Therefore, according to the position of the heart, in contact with the particular mode of material nature, one's faith is established. It should be understood that if one's heart is in the mode of goodness, his faith is also in the mode of goodness. If his heart is in the mode of passion, his faith is also in the mode of passion. And if his heart is in the mode of darkness, illusion, his faith is also thus contaminated. Thus we find different types of faith in this world, and there are different types of religions due to different types of faith. The real principle of religious faith is situated in the mode of pure goodness, but because the heart is tainted, we find different types of religious principles. Thus, according to different types of faith, there are different kinds of worship.
Okay, now you know. The key statement is, although one may be conducted by some impression or some conception of life, originally he is nirguna, transcendental. Therefore, one has to become cleansed of the material contamination that he has acquired in order to regain his relationship with the Supreme Lord. This is the main point. This is what we're trying to do in the temple, is to become cleansed or purified of the material contamination that we've acquired through many, many births and deaths in the material world, and under the influence of the modes of material nature. In other words, it says, Yesam twantakatam papam jananam punya karmanam te tvanta mahanirmutta bhajantitirvata. Let's look at the 7th chapter, 28th verse. It's persons, 7th chapter, 28th verse. Persons who have acted piously in previous lives and in this life, and whose sinful actions are completely eradicated, are freed from the dualities of delusion, and they engage themselves in my service with determination. So this is what we're trying to do, to become free from all sinful actions in the past through devotional service, and also free from dualities, love and hate, riches and poverty, happiness and distress, the delusion that it's a result of these dualities. And then we can engage in Krishna's service purely and transcend the influence of the modes of material nature. Then we're liberated in this world. We develop full faith in Krishna as our only protector, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And in a moment of death, we go back to Godhead. But we're already back to Godhead in this life. We're already liberated in this life because we're no longer attracted to any material type of allurement. By using everything material correctly in the service of Krishna, we're no longer entrapped by anything material. Okay? So that's our lesson today. And that's the meaning of this verse, 2nd chapter, 50th verse, which says, a man engaged in devotional service rids himself of both good and bad actions even in his life. Therefore strive for yoga, which is the art of all work. So there is a movement that is, let's say, endorsing the art of living. But much more important than the art of living is the art of work. Work by which you no longer have any material reaction to your work, either good or bad. It's liberated work. So that is called Yoga Koshalam, the art of work. Koshalam means the art or the trick by which you convert everything material into spiritual reality. This is the real art. Art of living, everybody's living. Even the dog is living, the cat is living. Right? But the art of work, by which you're no longer entrapped by the laws of karma or the modes of material nature, that is the real art. Where everything you do in your life is spiritual. You cook for Krishna, you eat for Krishna, you work for Krishna, you sleep for Krishna, you earn money for Krishna, you spend the money for Krishna. Therefore, every ordinary thing you do, if you do it according to the principles of Krishna consciousness, you are in a state of samadhi already. Samadhi means your mind is fixed on the Lord. You learn the technique of how to cook for Krishna, how to eat for Krishna, how to sleep for Krishna. You go to sleep early and you wake up early, so before the Brahma Muhurta, so that you can chant your rounds. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. With reverent meditation on the holy name of Krishna. And you go to Mangalarti and you hear Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam early in the morning when your mind is fresh, when you're not. It's called the Yoga Koshalam, the art of work. It's much more significant than the art of living. The art of living doesn't mean anything. Everybody's living. The art of work, that's the question, how everything you do is actually spiritually elevating in your life. Okay, so we'll stop there. And that subject is explained in the next verse in much more detail. Karmajam buddhi yukta. So homework for next week. First of all, who did homework from last week? Huh? Did you do your homework?
I forgot.
You forgot. Well, you're like everybody else. Yes. Did you do it? Okay, let me hear your homework. First of all, say what it was and read what you wrote. Quiet. Everybody quiet.
Class is not over yet.
Go ahead. What was the homework?
So how ordinary things you do can be connected to Krishna?
Say.
Oh, that was
That's for Saturday. That's for tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay, what was the homework for today? Go ahead. What is it? Did you do it?
I didn't tell me. This is Sanskrit is writing.
Okay.
Six formula.
Six what?
6 formula for favorable professional spiritual life.
Okay, 6 formula for professional spiritual life.
I didn't do the class.
Yes, wait a minute. Babaji is speaking. Wait a minute. Yes?
Enthusiasm to work.
Oh yeah. Utsaha nischayat daryat tatat karma pavartana.
The patience we have to do, and we have to follow the spiritual path, like
Yes.
That's one last time the life spiriting stop.
Shravanam Kirtanam, like
Utsaha nischayat daryat tatat karma pavartana. One second. 1 second. Nectar of instruction. Yeah.
being enthusiastic, enduring with confidence, being patient, acting according to the regulative principles such as Ramanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam,
Yes.
hearing, chanting, and remembering Krishna, abandoning the association of non-devotees, and following the footsteps of previous acharyas. These
this
are the
is-
6 principles under the devotion of complete devotion.
So this way you can be successful in every endeavor, including your professional life. Utsaha nischayata yat tatat karma pravartanat sangatyagat satovite sadvida sadvir bhaktir prasidati. So that is being enthusiastic, as you said, endeavoring with confidence, being patient, acting according to the regulative principles such as Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, hearing, chanting, and remembering Krishna, abandoning the association of non-devotees, and following in the footsteps of previous acharyas. These 6 principles only assure the complete success of pure devotional service and also complete success in everything you do in life. All right? So homework for next week, Agastya. Memorize this verse.
Which verse?
I know. 3rd verse of the Nectar of Instruction. Utsaha nischayata, yeah? And write how this pertains to your life right now. In school, in whatever you're doing. How do these qualities or these principles relate to your life? And is it pertinent to your life or not pertinent? Does it have any importance for your life or not? Utsaha nischayat varyat. Okay? Haribo, Haribo, Haribo. Thank you very much. Prabhupada.
Oh yeah, you got the map.
Okay, let's see, who's going to do their homework for next week? Raise your hand. Who's going to do your homework? Agastya, you are.
I don't think I have that.
What? Your dad will get it for you. He'll get it from the bookstore.
Online on which book?
Nectar of Instruction. This
We
book.
have a lot of copies. You also
How about Krishna 2? Is Krishna 2 going to do his homework?
Kindle पे भी थे.
You going to do the homework, Krishna 2?
Yeah, alright.
You have this book? Verse number 3.
We have 10 copies of it.
This is Nectar of Instruction.
Prabhu, I still don't quite get like the about you saying audience.
Yeah. It's like this. Let's say your dad wants you to become an expert in computer robotics.
Probably does.
And you say, Dad, I agree with you. I also want to be expert in computer robotics. That's called oneness.
We both have the same desire.
Yes. Yeah. And you both work toward it. That's oneness. Okay?
You can be done by Sunday, move it on Sunday.
Yeah.
You talked about duty, right? What is your duty? So how do you see that you go to office and do work?
You have a higher duty and a lower duty. Lower duty is you have to take. When you go to office, you're strictly honest, you do your job, deliverables that they ask you for, you cooperate with everyone. So now you're doing your duty as a husband, right? Now, there's a higher duty, that's your duty toward God. So, you do your duty toward God, you organize your life so that you can chant your rounds, you can read, or at least take part in classes,